Welcome to Missiongathering Charlotte. Check us out on the web at mgclt.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Missiongathering Charlotte.
Awareness is our first step on the path to freedom. And we learn more about awareness and freedom when we're studying a story about a family. This family story is considered the greatest short story ever told for all time by many authors and writers and literary scholars. And according to the writer of Luke, it was first told by Jesus. So Jesus tells a story about who? A father and his two sons, right? And so this youngest son, he does the worst thing he could possibly do. Does everybody remember that? He says, "Listen, Dad, I wish you were dead, but since you're not, give me all the money I'm owed when you die." Now, in Jesus' day, people would have been furious at this. In our own time, I don't think we'd all be too happy if this was our sibling, our cousin, our neighbor, or if this was somebody's post on Facebook about what happened in some other state. But we'd be mad, right? Everybody would look at the angry face. But he gives him his money, right? The dad does the exact opposite of what everybody thinks he's going to do. He goes and he gives this angry, this vile son that just hates his guts. He says, "You know what, son? I love you. I'm going to do what you want. I'm going to go and get this money for you." So he gives him the money, and the son's still angry. He can't stick around the hometown. He needs to go and sow his wild oats in a foreign town. So he leaves his father, he leaves his people, and he journeys to somewhere else. He makes new friends, new lovers, and he spends everything. After many wasted nights of reckless spending, it's all gone. And he's broke. And he's not just broke like some of you say you're broke. Like, he didn't go through the budget. He doesn't have anything, right? He's broke like Plaza-Midwood broke. And Plaza-Midwood in like the 90s broke. Where it's like, I don't have money for like one PBR. Like, I'm so broke. Can I crash on your couch? That kind of broke. He's not broke in the sense that I got a vacation coming, so I'm going to skip the offering plate, bro. He's got no money for food, no money for housing. He's got nothing. All of his lovers are gone. All of his friends are gone. Anybody he thought cared about him in this new place are gone. And in a sense of literary irony that I'm pretty sure Jesus was like just waiting to tell everybody, as soon as the money dried up, so did the rains, and famine came about. So nowadays when, it doesn't rain for a while and crops go bad, it just costs a little more to buy at the grocery store. But back then, if you had a famine, there were no jobs, the food prices went up to almost no one could afford it, and people were literally starving to death in the streets. Right? It's that way in different parts of the world now, but it's not here. So it's hard for us to understand. So he searches and he searches for a job, and finally he finds the lowest paid job, the worst job that any young Jewish boy could get. He begins work of feeding pigs. He's feeding food scraps and rubbish. At this time, it was common practice to feed pigs parts of other pigs that you'd harvested to eat yourself. So he's touching and doing all the grossest things that every person trying to keep kosher, every Jewish child isn't supposed to do. And so all these people in the first century are just like, what has happened? Like, these are the just desserts, but like, Jesus, you might be pushing a little too far here. I mean, he's still a young Jewish boy. We don't want to feed pigs, right? We don't want to feed pigs. Even they're disgusted by this. They wouldn't want that on this kid. But yet, that's where he finds himself. And day after day, he's standing in the piles of the pig feces and the rotten food, and the sight of it would make most of us run away, but the smell of it would send all of us running. That is how low he's fallen. And many of you have heard of hitting rock bottom, but I don't know if any of us have ever really hit a rock bottom like that. Some of you might have. Some of you have been there. Some of you have been at a point where you just smack the ground and you can't even believe where you're at. And so last week, Rich talked about awareness, and this past week, you talked about awareness in your Freeway groups. And at this moment of despair, of hitting the lowest of the low, of looking at what the pigs are eating and wanting to eat it himself, the younger son is finally aware. The younger son has finally found a spot that is so low he can look up. And as tears began to form in his eyes, that had not cried tears in years, that had only been filled with anger before, they rolled down a face that had been weathered by hardship. His newly calloused and blistered hands began to shake. And that heart that he had hardened to his father slowly began to beat, and then began to race. Because he embraced the hurt and the pain and felt the full force of his shame, he became aware. He had fallen so far down that he couldn't fall anymore, and he saw the truth. He saw the face of his loving father looking back at him from the pit of his despair. And a thought began to form in his mind, a small thought, that surely my father treats his servants better than this. And slowly that idea began to form. And I wonder if when he looked into the pool of that muck and he saw the weathering and the aging that had happened to him from his poverty, from his partying, from all the bad things that had happened since he left his dad, I wonder if the reflection of his face reminded him of his father. I wonder if that's how God snuck in and formed that image in his mind. This younger son, who had been so angry at his father, now began to see the goodness that was his daddy. He began to remember the kindness that even when he threw back hate and anger at him would still come. And growing up, we heard this story a lot. I know I did. I grew up in an evangelical background. And I was always taught that this is when he realizes his sinful nature. But I don't think that's what's happening here. I think this younger son had been angry for so long, he ran headfirst into a path of destruction that had more to do with his shame than it had to do with any sin. Because I think shame is the trickiest and the most profound part of our existence other than God. Because shame is what causes us to sin. Sin is the symptom. Shame is the disease. All of our little rebellions against God, our parents, the society, everything is a way of hiding our shame that we can never, ever get rid of by trying to cover it up with anything but our Father's love. And until we hit rock bottom, we're never aware of that shame, because we do a little trick as humans. We hide it behind things, right? We hide it behind anger, saying it's somebody else's fault. We go and we do things to try and fill up our lives. Remember, Rich talked about that, the awareness that those things we keep going after, those things we keep running back to, those are the things that we're using to hide our shame. And our shame is that we can't ever be God. Our shame is that we know one day we will die. And I really know this is heavy, and I'm sorry if it's too early for that, but guess what? One day you're going to die. This is church, we're being honest. I'm not going to tell you you're going to float up on a cloud, and it's never going to happen, or, as Ricky Bobby would say, with the high level of income and the way that science is going, you live to be 200-300 years old. That's not true. We are going to die, and we're terrified of it, and we're ashamed of it because we want to be God. Just like the son wanted to be his father. He sold all, he wanted all of his inheritance right now. He didn't want to wait until he could be ready to be on par with his father. He wanted it all right now. And so do we. And we're terribly, terribly ashamed of it. So until we hit rock bottom, until we have this awareness of the shame, of this pain that we're trying to cover up with all these other things, we will never be ready to embark on step 2 in the journey of freedom, which is discovery. As people made in the image of God, we always want to discover new things. We're the most curious creatures on the planet. I know we like to watch monkey videos on YouTube and see how they're really curious, but we're the most curious things on the planet, right? In 2011, NASA launched the Atlas V541 rocket from Cape Canaveral. On that rocket was a special passenger, the Curiosity rover. Now, I did have slides, but apparently I don't know how to work email. So imagine Wall-E, right? The Disney robot. The rover looks a lot like Wall-E, or Wall-E looks a lot like the rover. But NASA needed to survey Mars, and on this rocket, all the bells and whistles of this new rover to go to the red planet and figure out if there was life there, what kind of rocks are there. It had hundreds of names on it. President Obama signed it. All these science nerds signed it. All these NASA people signed it. But on it was one special signature, and it was a 12-year-old girl from the Midwest named Carla Mall. Carla won an essay contest. Not only did she get to sign the rover in person, but she got to name it. And this is her essay about that. Curiosity is an everlasting flame that burns in everyone's mind. It makes me get out of bed in the morning and wonder what surprises life will throw at me. Curiosity is such a powerful force. Without it, we wouldn't be who we are today. When I was younger, I wondered, why is the sky blue? Why do the stars twinkle? Why am I me? And I still do. I've had so many questions, and America is where I want to find my answers. Curiosity is the passion that drives us through our everyday lives. We have become explorers and scientists with our need to ask questions and wonder. Sure, there are many risks and dangers, but despite that, we still continue to wonder and dream and create and hope. We have discovered so much about the world, but so little. We will never know everything there is to know, but with our burning curiosity, we have learned so much. So, I mean, she had to win the essay, right? She said, America, curiosity, science. NASA's like, let's go. Think about that. Burning curiosity. Because that little spark of curiosity is what we need if we're going to pursue freedom. We have to become self-aware because that self-awareness creates curiosity, and that curiosity leads us to discovery. And it's scary. Many of us have allowed shame to fill us with fear. Right? It's easier to stay. It's easier not to think about yourself. It's easier to cover it up with all the things that can make our lives medicated, passive, not living and vibrant like God wants it to be. Discovery is dangerous. We might not like what we find. Becoming self-aware, finding awareness in your life, you might not like your reflection. But that doesn't mean you have to stay there. If you've truly bottomed out, you're aware just how far away you have gotten. And then you say to yourself the words, what do I have to lose? And that's what's happening to our younger son here. Many of us are not yet at our bottoms, and we've convinced ourselves that the castles we've made out of the pig feces are the best we can get. But if you could let go of the shame, if you could let go of the things that has created in you, your ego, your pride, your anger, then like the younger son, you would see the chains that shame is placed on you. You would see that like serving in your father's house is way better than just staying where you're at. You can remember that life has not always been this way, and that you have not always been this way. Maybe it could be better once again. Luke 15, verses 18 and 19. Our younger son says, I'll get up and return to my father, and I'll say, Father, I have done wrong. Wrong against God and wrong against you. And I have forfeited the right to be treated like your son. And I am wondering, listen to that word, I am wondering if you might treat me like one of your servants. That's curiosity. Henry Nouwen, a really renowned religious scholar, said this about the younger son. Whatever he had lost, be it money, his friends, his reputation, his self-respect, his inner joy and peace, one or all, he still remained his father's child. And so he says to himself, how many of my father's hired men have all the food they want and more, and I am here dying of hunger? I will leave this place and go to my father and say, I sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired men. With these words in his heart, he was able to turn to leave the foreign country and go home. The meaning of the younger son's return is certainly expressed in the words, "Father, I have sinned." On the one hand, the younger son realizes the loss of his dignity, of his sonship. But at the same time, the sense of loss and dignity makes him also aware that he is indeed the son who had a dignity to lose. The younger son's return takes place at the very moment that he reclaims his sonship. Even though he has lost all dignity that belongs to it, in fact, it was the loss of everything that brought him to the bottom line of his identity. He hit bedrock of his sonship. In retrospect, it seems the prodigal had to lose everything to come in touch with the ground of his being. Sometimes we have to lose it all before we can get into the path. Sometimes we have to fall before we can get back up. I'm not trying to sound like Chumbawamba, I promise. At the very moment he remembered his father's love, he made that decision to return home. He took the first steps to discovering that things can be better than they are now. If we want to be free, to be a people of freedom, the Missiongathering, you have to leave the pig pen. You have to step out in curiosity and faith. You have to understand that you were meant for more than just feeding swine and starving to death. There's a lot of us in here, we keep going through those same patterns, those same cycles. We keep deciding that we'd rather starve to death than feed the things that we don't even want, that aren't good for us. We know we don't want them anymore, but we feed that habit. We feed that relationship. We feed that desire. We feed that hatred. We feed those things in our lives that we use to cover up so many things that we're afraid of. And we have to stop. You know, the image of the swine and the pigs, makes me think of piggy banks, right? And somewhere in your house, maybe when you were growing up, you had a piggy bank, and maybe you wrote on it what that piggy bank was for. But I think that in our lives, just like the son was having us feed the pigs while he starved to death, we all have these little piggy banks. These piggy banks of all these things we don't want anymore. All these things that we can't stop doing, but we keep doing it. And we put quarter after quarter in, maybe we slip $1 in, which was always the hardest thing to do as a kid. Because paper money, that was where it was at. But those piggy banks are sitting there, and all you have to do is just kind of nudge them off the dresser. And they're gone, they're broken. But we don't want to do it, right? We don't want to break those habits. We want to keep putting into the things that have always been there to comfort us in the most awful way. Comfort us in a twisted and sick way. But remember your Father's love. If we want to be free, we have to brave the scariness of leaving the pig pen. It's scary. The younger son didn't know if his father would reject him. He didn't know if he'd accept him, but he remembered that his father had been compassionate even on his servants. So maybe, just maybe, he could be like one of them. He didn't need to be a son anymore. He didn't need to be loved. He didn't need to be pulled all the way back into the family. He knew he messed up. Maybe God could be compassionate enough, just compassionate enough for him to be a servant. Maybe his father could be compassionate enough for him to serve. Right now, I just need you to close your eyes. And I know it's heavy. It was a cold morning. Please don't go to sleep on me. Close your eyes. Clear your mind. Take 3 deep breaths. Now I want you to go back. I want you to go back. I want you to think of a time when you were truly loved, when you were filled with warmth, comfort. There wasn't any fear. Everything around you just felt like a blanket right out of the dryer. Rest in that for a minute. Think back on how that felt. Think about That time, maybe it was a long time ago, maybe it was recently. And one more deep breath. Now open your eyes. Where did most of you go? Most of us probably went back to a time where a parent loved us. That first time we held a spouse. Some of you had nowhere to go. Some of you have been so worn down, have had so much of the pig muck thrown on you, that you couldn't even think of something like that. So right now, I need you to do something else, and this is going to be pretty awkward for some of you. I need you to look at the person next to you, look into their eyes, and tell them you are God's beloved. Your Father in heaven loves you. The younger son's journey began in the awareness that his father was a kind and compassionate person. But his feet only started to move on that journey home when he asked these questions. Who am I? What am I doing here? And Father, will you just make me? True life-changing discovery and freedom does not happen until we ask those questions of ourselves. God, who am I? What am I doing here? And would you just make me? See, it's a lot easier to sit in the pig crowd than it is to get up and risk discovery. It's a lot easier to ask the questions, why'd you do that? Why am I here? And why didn't you do that, Dad? It's a lot easier to put stuff off and blame it on someone else. Kierkegaard said this: to dare is to lose one's footing. To not dare is to lose oneself. Because we risk a lot on that journey home, right? We risk a lot to understand and to try and make our way back to God. Make our way back to the Father, just like the Son does. Jesus' audience would have understood this risk. They would have understood that the Son coming back after doing what he did could have been shunned from the whole community. I mean, they even had a ceremony for it. They go out to the outside of town, there'd be a pot, like they boil the pot and then say, like, you're cut off from our society forever. And then no one would even be able to say that person's name. We do that too, don't we? We think we don't, but we do. Depending on who you vote for, depending on what politics you like. We click that little button that says unfollow, unfriend. In our hearts, we do the same thing. Many of us would like to think about what was the Son thinking on his journey home. Was he scheming to get back into the Father's house? Was he trying to find a way to get some more money out of his dad? Was he a spoiled child just coming back in defeat? Was he a millennial living in the basement until he's 30? I'm trying not to humor here, guys. It's a heavy, heavy lesson. But, you see, God, Jesus, the Father, he sees our tricks. And whether it was a scheme that was holding back, or whether it was a scheme to come back and work his way back into the Father's life, Jesus is telling the audience that the Father doesn't care. The Father sees the tricks, he just wants us to come home. God has always wanted to be with us. If we look at Genesis, it wasn't God who hid from us, it was us that hid from God. God came into the garden and we hid from God because we felt what? We felt ashamed. So we hid ourselves. And in mercy, God withdrew from us. But ever since then, God has been trying to get us to come home. The younger son felt the same things we're feeling. He says, what if he rejects me? There's anger. Why didn't I listen to my dad? Why did he let me go in the first place? How could he have let this happen? Do not listen to those voices on your journey to discovery. When you become aware, do not listen to that enemy within your soul, that shame that is a slave master and wants to keep you in chains. It does not want you to be free. It does not want you to be loved. But since we sprung up from this earth and became flesh, your Father's desire has been for you to feel loved. Verse 20. The father looked off into the distance and saw the young man returning. He felt compassion for his son, and he ran to him and embraced and kissed him. See, that's the thing about the Father, is he's always been looking to see if we're coming back. He stares out on the horizon at that gate at the end of the property, that property that used to be bigger, but because of us shrunk a little bit. Waiting to hear the sound of flip-flops against the cobblestones coming back home. And when he sees us coming back, he runs. And why does he run? In the story, this could be a scary thing. In the Bible, there's a thing called girding your loins. Right? That's a funny word. You can laugh at that. And so, rich men and well-to-do Jewish men always wore a tunic. And the tunic went down to their ankles. But if they needed to run, they couldn't run. Ladies, you can probably explain that wearing basically a dress is hard to run in when it's tight to the skin. So, you had to lift it up, tie it up, and then run. But this was a scary thing. People only did that if they were about to fight you or go into battle. The father is so excited, he has to run. So he lifts up his tunic, ties it into basically a diaper-looking thing, and starts running. Right? He starts running, but not only is it scary that he's running, it's also shameful. Because landowners aren't supposed to run. People that ran were the lesser, not the better. The better was never supposed to run. And just like Jesus became flesh to be amongst us, and to show us God's love, the father in the story is willing to shame himself in order to keep his son from leaving again. And he ran because he wanted to get there before the haters got there. Before all the people with their religiousness and their society values of keeping out those that have wronged us decided, not him, he can't come back. He wanted to get there before the hurtful voices of all the people still trapped in their own slavery to shame started to lash out at him. He wanted to get there before his son had a chance to turn away. Verse 21. Father, I have done wrong in your sight, or I've done wrong in God's sight in your sight too. I have forfeited any right to be treated like your son. These are true words of repentance. We don't do that a lot. We become a society of denial. We say, my bad, it's all good, sorry, not sorry. We can just say whatever it sounds like we want this week and say another one the next week. But if we want to be free, we have to admit to ourselves and to God that we've messed up. We have to own what we did. We have to own all the things that we piled onto ourselves. And hear me when I say that, we need to own it. God doesn't need us to own it. We do. Because until we deal with our shame, until we deal with all the things we've been doing, we are the ones that hide from God, not God from us. It's verse 22. But the father turned to his servant and said, quick, bring the best robe we have and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and shoes on his feet. He puts a robe over his son, who is covered in filth, covered in shame, to cover that shame. He puts a ring on his finger to claim him as family and to say to the world that this is my son, truly my son, and I have forgiven him. He puts shoes on his feet to make him free to walk the paths of his Father, so that everyone will know he has been fully redeemed. Today, God wants to reclaim you, to cover you, to know that he never left you, even though you left him. You are his beloved child, and God will never give up on you. You know, there's a lot in this message. There's a lot in the idea of discovery. The Freeway has been really heavy. But today God's saying, take that second step. Take that second step, and we'll go get the fattest calf. We'll butcher it, and we'll celebrate. Take that step into freedom. Take that step from awareness to discovery. I don't know if when Jesus said the story and said to go get the fattest calf and butcher it, if he spread his arms wide when he said it. But we do know that some Friday after that, he told the story. Some Friday after he told this story, he spread his arms wide to cover us, to claim us, and to free us. It's time for you to discover your path home. It's time to discover your path back to freedom. Jesus, who had seen the Father who had always been Jesus who had always been the Father, knew the love, knew that if people could just turn their gaze away from the shadows of shame on the wall and turn their eyes to the light that is God's love, to feel the ability to be children of God, then they would return just like the prodigal came home. And some of us here today, we sit like those people sat with Jesus on the night he was betrayed, and we think we get it, we're trying to get it, we're trying to be there. Just like them, there's all the ideas that we want to cling to about who we are and what we are. There's the ideas that shame has created in us that we're better than that person, we're better than this person. And we want God to be this or be that, and not just be God. So looking at his friends one last time, Jesus said, "This is my body. It's broken for you. It's broken in love, so that one day you can return to your Father." And he looked at them. Many of them bewildered and not understanding what was going on. Half of them still so ashamed about where they came from and who they were. They were yet to even realize the power that was within them. And he said, "This is my love that I've spilled for you. The years and years that I've tried to get you to come home. I've come here now to spill my love and have my body broken." Many of you today have things that you need to get right. Not for me, not for God, but for yourself. So that you can be with God, so that you can be in true community, so you can be in freedom. Let's pray. God, I ask that you would send the Holy Spirit down right now to give the gift of discovery. Allow us to take the first steps back home to you. God, we're tired of the pigpen. We don't want to live in that anymore. We don't want to live in the hate, the pain, the ego, and the pride, and the hurting each other over and over again, just so that we can prove to ourselves that we're worth loving. Because God, you love us always. You've always been looking at the fence. You've always been looking out at that horizon, waiting for us to come home. You never gave up hope. You came and took on our form. All the shame and hurt and anger we placed upon you, your arms spread wide, and you were broken for us. blood and love for us, because you are a loving Father. And you just want us to come home, and you just want to throw us a party. God, let us discover what it is we need to take those first steps home to you. And Jesus,